Okay, so I've had a couple requests on showing how to remove and replace the extractor and spring from your Stoeger M3K with the Benelli and extractor and spring, which is of a higher quality. So we're going to go ahead and do that. That part and the spring are right in here. I'm going to assume that you already know how to take your barrel and foreguard off. I've already removed my Nordic extension tube and my low drag follower out of there, so we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so the next step we're going to need to do is get the actual bolt carrier out of the shotgun. What we're going to do is we're going to press back and hold on the recoil spring in that position and pull the charging handle straight out. It should come right out, not very many problems. And keep that and slowly remove it out because it is under spring tension. Bolt carrier will drop free and we're good. We don't need that. We don't need the housing anymore of the shotgun. So now what we have is the bolt carrier by itself, and this right here, this right here is the extractor, and you can see the spring behind it right there. Those are the pieces we're going to want to replace. So what we're going to do is we're going to run whatever kind of punch you have to get through here. Now when you're punching out this piece, it's going to come through from the bottom. You're going to want to retain pressure on this because that spring is pretty hard in there. It's pretty tough, so you're going to want to hold that while you're tapping the pin out. To remove the pin out, this pin, you need to drive it from the top of the carrier. I'm holding this at an angle so you can see it. Now there's a large hole right here. The only thing you're trying to hit is the shiny piece that you see right there. You will not see the top of the entire head of the pin. Technically there's no head, but you are only seeing half of the pin sticking out right there. It's going to confuse you because on the bottom you will see the whole pin right there. But if you line it up, that pin sits right there. See it? There's just the hole. You look to the side, there's half the pin right there. You need to hit this half of the pin from the top right here down. And then when you reinstall it, it will go from the bottom upwards and it will stop itself on the head right here. So make sure you're pressing firmly down when you do that. And I'll go ahead and do that on camera. I just need to relocate myself. I wanted to show that piece in the best light possible. Okay. So now that I got the bolt carrier in my handy dandy bolt carrier holder, I'm going to go ahead and knock out that little pin just on that side right there. You don't have to hold the spring at the beginning, but you'll want to just slowly tap, 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 tap until you get to the point of a stop. So right there, I know the pin's halfway in and it's halfway out right there. You can see where it's actually sticking in. Let me see if I can bring this a little closer to the camera for you. Pin's been halfway knocked. Still under compression right here though, so we'll go ahead and see if we can't just pull it out or work it loose. Nope. Luckily, just in case, I had some pliers. I pulled it, so now the pin is out. We'll slowly remove our hand. Now we have the extractor and the extractor spring. Okay, so having the Stoeger extractor and the Benelli extractor side by side as well as their springs, I can show you what the major differences are. So starting with the Benelli spring, you'll notice that it's slightly longer and the material is also a little bit thicker, giving it more spring, more tension that it's going to put onto the extractor itself. Now with the Benelli extractor, you'll notice that this point over here is really sharp. It comes to a really fine point. That's not something you see on the Stoeger. That Stoeger it comes to a point, but it's not nearly as sharp as the Benelli's, and it does have a rounder edge towards the bottom of it. In a minute I'll go ahead and lift it up to the camera so you guys can see that a little bit more clearly. And then you can see obviously that Stoeger spring is a little bit smaller. May be hard to tell in the camera, take my word for it. The other thing you're going to want to look at when you have both of them in hand is that the quality on the Benelli is just night and day difference from the Stoeger. Nothing against the Stoeger one, but the Benelli one is a better quality make. So it's completely machined out where it looks as the Stoeger is stamped once you start looking at it and get your face really close to it. Now, if for some reason you happen to mix these two, there is one small way to tell other than the point on them and the quality of it. If you had really poor eyes, you couldn't tell the difference. One of them the Stoeger has a bevel along this circle on both sides. The Benelli only has it on one side, which only needs to be on one side because the pin only goes in one direction. So those are going to be your main focal points of it. I'll go ahead and try to lift these up to the camera right here so that way you can see what's going on. Dirty hands in there. Yeah, you could see that Benelli extractor comes to a much sharper point. It doesn't have that round end, and that right there is what's going to be causing, if you are having intermittent ejection problems or having a case get stuck in the chamber, then that's going to be your main issue right there. Here's hopefully a better angle. I have the factory Stoeger extractor sitting on the top and the Benelli sitting on the bottom. You can see it's significantly more pointed. Okay, so now reinstalling the extractor and spring with the Benelli spring. We're going to go ahead and insert that first towards the back portion of the head back here. It's just going to sit right there. It's going to stick right above. The next step we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our extractor. Make sure it's facing the right way. Hate to hear about you guys having to do this twice. Line it right up against the spring and drop it into that hole. Now you are going to want to visually eyeball, and you may even want to hold this back in the open position and get the pin started while the carrier's on its side so you can find that hole. There, and I just found it right there. I got it pushed in most of the way. Good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little punch. I'm going to make sure that this is reseated. Couple light taps. Make sure that's in 100% all the way. You can check by making sure that that top pin is all the way against the stop on the inside. So now it's all done. It's back in there. It's good to go. Alright, putting everything back together is just as easy. You're going to take your action bar, slide it over, extension tube, seat it into the frame, hold it in place right there so this little channel sticking out. You can slide your carrier into there, push it halfway back, go ahead and stick your charging handle in there, make sure it's seated completely. There we go. Now that we're seated completely, it's going to hold itself in there. Go right back to the barrel since we have it all in here. Slide this piece in. Go ahead and push back and you're good to go on that portion right now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide my low drag Nordic components follower in there. Make sure it's facing the right direction. Stick my extension tube on there. And then I will actually stick my shell spring in through the end cap right there once I've gotten this completely tight. Alright, so now you should have your Benelli extractor and spring in there and good to go. Hope this video helped you guys out.